Before the light, there was silence, but not the silence of peace. It was the dense silence of the unknown, loaded with hidden expectations, as if the universe itself were trapped in an eternal sigh. It was a void that seemed to pulse, awaiting the supreme order that would change everything. You're about to delve into one of the most hidden revelations in sacred history, that which inhabited the abyss before time, before form, before matter. Stay until the end, because what you will discover today may forever change the way you see the beginning of all things. If this revelation awakens something in your spirit, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. This will cost you nothing, and you will help this message reach those souls who need to hear it. The Bible presents us with a puzzling scene in Genesis 1:2. Now the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. What was this deep? What were these waters? And why did the Spirit hover over them rather than simply create? Scripture shows that before the creative order, there existed something, a space of expectation, a vastness filled with as yet unrevealed potential. Within this deep, spiritual beings already existed, silent witnesses to a plan that had not yet been fully revealed. Ancient texts, such as the Book of Enoch and the Second Book of Ezra, indicate that celestial beings already inhabited these depths. They were not demons as we know them, but creatures of glory, created to reflect the majesty of God. These beings watched in reverent silence the movement of the Holy Spirit over the waters, waiting for the word that would forever change the course of eternity. But not everyone would accept peacefully what was to come. In that silence, the first spark of dissatisfaction and pride began to emerge. The silence before the light was not an absence of movement. It was a vibrant, latent field, like a sea of hidden impossibilities. The Spirit of God was hovering, but not as one who simply observes. He was moving with purpose, with intention, preparing every detail of the great revelation that was about to happen. This cosmic moment of immense expectation is the interval where the first spiritual divisions began to form, still imperceptibly, like cracks appearing in a seemingly perfect wall. The book of Job contains a precious revelation that many ignore. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Job 38, 4-7. Before the earth was formed, there were morning stars, spiritual beings who sang before the glory of creation. These sons of God already inhabited the unseen, and their existence predates anything we know in the physical world. They celebrated God's work, but not all of them would continue to celebrate for long. If spiritual beings already inhabited the heights before the light was called into existence, an inevitable question arises. What else was moving in that deep abyss? Were all these beings faithful, or were there already divided hearts among them? The Bible, although discreet, allows us to glimpse that spiritual corruption did not begin among men, but among celestial beings. Ancient Jewish traditions echo this reality, describing that in the silence before the light, something disturbing was already growing. The seed of pride. It was in this dense silence that the first rebellion began to germinate, not as an open cry, but as a whisper in the hearts of those who did not fully accept the divine plan. There was still no action, there was still no fall, only the silent birth of disobedience harbored in the deepest part of the being. A fissure that, although invisible at that moment, would soon become an open wound in the entire cosmos. The silence that dominated the beginning of time was, in fact, a hidden arena. In it, eternal decisions were made without words, without visible movements. It was a battle of wills, a tension between remaining in perfect obedience to God or following the seductive glow of an illusory independence. When God finally pronounced, "Let there be light," that light tore apart not only the physical darkness, it exposed what had hitherto been hidden, bringing to light the secret divisions that silence had fostered. Texts such as the Book of Jubilees suggest that before the world was fully created, heavenly assemblies were already witnessing the unfolding of God's plan. Many rejoiced, singing praises at the greatness of God, but others began to quietly question, why create fragile beings made of clay when there was already glory in the heavens? God's answer was hidden in the mystery of his love and purpose in manifesting his grace, something that not all spiritual beings were willing to accept. This initial uneasiness explains why, even before the creation of man, corruption had already touched the heavens. The pride that had begun to form in the hearts of some became a shadow over the newly declared light. Not an open war yet, but a latent division, a growing tension like dark clouds gathering on the horizon of a still, clear sky. The silence of the abyss, therefore, was not neutral. It was the fertile soil for the greatest spiritual tragedy in the universe. The first rebellion did not begin with shouts, but with small shifts of intention. A look of disdain, a thought of superiority, a silent rejection of the divine plan. Thus, before the first man walked the earth, the invisible world was already marked by the seed of conflict. When man was finally formed, he entered not into a neutral world, but into a silent and treacherous spiritual battlefield. When God formed the earth and prepared Eden, the stage was set not only for life, but for the consummation of an ancient tension. To human eyes, the garden was perfect, a paradise of beauty and harmony. But on the unseen plane, spiritual forces were already stirring. Some watched with admiration, others with growing resentment. The creation of man was not just the beginning of humanity, it was a spiritual declaration. God had chosen to share his image with a creature made of dust. Man, small and frail in the vastness of the cosmos, was honored with a destiny that angels never received. Made in the image and likeness of the Creator, Adam not only inhabited creation, he was called to rule it. This honor, this choice, set fire to the already corrupted hearts in the higher dimensions. The wounded pride of those who had begun to disobey in silence now turned into open rebellion. It is in this context that the serpent appears in Eden, not as an accident, but as the spearhead of an ancient plan. The attempt to deceive Adam and Eve was merely the continuation of the first spiritual war, a strategy that aimed to destroy God's plan from its roots, leading man to betray the Creator himself, as some celestial beings had already done in previous ages. The battle that began in silence found, in the heart of man, a new field of dispute. This realization changes everything. The fall of man was not the universe's first mistake, it was the consequence of an invisible war, much older than the earth itself. We have been drawn into a cosmic drama that is already underway. We are not just victims, we are valuable pawns in an eternal struggle between light and darkness, between fidelity and pride, between divine decree and silent insubordination. The silence that preceded creation left wounds that echo to this day. Although invisible to human eyes, these spiritual cracks shape the history of humanity. The choices made by spiritual beings in the ages before time reverberate in every generation, in every temptation, in every inner battle waged in the hearts of men. The war did not end with creation. It simply gained a new stage, a new battlefield, the human soul. This is why the Apostle Paul warns us so seriously. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, Ephesians 6:12. These principalities did not arise in the time of man. They are remnants of the first rebels, ancient beings who chose the shadow when there was still only silence and light. Our struggle is therefore much older and much deeper than it appears. As we understand this reality, our spiritual responsibility becomes immense. We are not just living our own lives, we are participating in a cosmic battle that began before creation. We are heirs to an invisible and eternal history, called to reflect the light that God declared in the beginning, in opposition to the darkness that has sought to corrupt the universe from its beginning. Every act of faithfulness, every choice to stand in truth is a blow against the corrupt silence that has formed before the light. When we obey, when we resist pride and temptation, we align ourselves with God's original decree, "Let there be light." We become part of God's answer to the challenge of rebellion. Our existence, small in the eyes of the world, is nevertheless a powerful testimony to the victory that has already been declared on high. The creation of light was not just a response to darkness, it was a declaration of war against all pride, against every shadow that tried to rise up against God's eternal will. Every star in the sky is like a flame lit by the Creator himself, a silent reminder to heaven and earth that his light is invincible. Every dawn is a reaffirmation of this eternal decree, a daily reminder that light always conquers the dark silence, and we, human beings, have been called to be guardians of that light. Our existence is not an accident nor a cosmic experiment. We were conceived, desired, and formed in the context of a spiritual war that was raging long before our first steps. We carry within our spirits the capacity to reflect God's light, or to obscure it if we choose to follow the path that the ancient traitors chose in the silence before creation. The abyss that existed before the light still exists in the form of temptation, doubt, and rebellion that besets humanity. It whispers, as it whispered to the first corrupted angels, "Go your own way, do not bow down, do not serve." But the light that tore open that abyss in the beginning still shines, and its call is clear. Be light, be faithful, be my witness in the midst of darkness. This is the true, hidden story behind creation, not just an account of physical origins, but a profound spiritual narrative that connects the beginning of time to the eternal destiny of humanity. To know this story is to understand that our daily choices reverberate far beyond our own existence. They are echoes of an ancient war, fought between the dark silence and the invincible light of the Most High God. If before the light there was shadow, then every ray that shines today is a reminder of God's mercy and authority over all that exists. The very existence of light is an eternal proclamation that the silence of rebellion has not triumphed. When God said, "Let there be light," he not only initiated visible creation, he declared that his sovereign will would govern the cosmos, casting out every hidden intention of subversion. Today, each of us walks under this same decision. We are not neutral in the cosmic drama. Every act of faith, every renunciation of pride, every choice of obedience is a response to the call of light that has echoed since the beginning. We are not fighting just for our lives. We are participating in an age-old battle that shapes the eternal future of creation. The dark silence that sheltered the first corruption still tries to whisper in our day. It tries to convince hearts to abandon the light, to doubt God's plan, to choose a path of independence that leads only to ruin. But the same light that shone in the beginning continues to shine for those who choose to remain faithful, who choose to walk by faith and truth. May your life be a beacon that proclaims to the universe, silence has not won. Light has triumphed, triumphs, and will triumph forever. And if this truth touched your heart, like it, Subscribe to the channel, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message, and comment below. Light has triumphed over the abyss. May God powerfully bless your life today and for all eternity.